Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Saturday, October 17th, 2020, and today marks day 10 of Joe Biden's double-digit lead on the 538 national average. Today, Biden is up 11 points nationally, and in a number of swing states, Joe Biden is doing very, very well. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the states that I believe are no longer in reach for Donald Trump. Essentially, we are going to be taking states that were previously competitive, that the Trump campaign absolutely had a shot at if the election was held 1 year ago. But today, as it stands, Joe Biden has done so well in a number of these states. And on top of that, Donald Trump's campaign has been very weird about where they send their television ads. They've been running internet ads around the country, but television ads definitely hit a certain group of voters that sometimes were traditionally Democrat in the Rust Belt that flipped over to Donald Trump. And while internet ads are obviously an excellent way at outreach for a campaign, both Biden and the Trump campaign are doing it very heavily. The Trump campaign, like I said, has been very shaky with their TV ad spending. They spent it in the Rust Belt, not really focusing on the Republican states from 2016 other than, like I said, those three. And then they had to, remove spending there. They had to divert their resources to Georgia, then Texas, and then Arizona. And then once they started to realize that Arizona may be a little far out of reach, they had to move up to Ohio and Iowa. And then they withdrew out of both of those states. And then they said, you know what, we'll come back when early voting started, and they've still been off the airwaves in some of these key battleground states. So part of that has to do with the fact that the Trump campaign hasn't been fundraising as much money as the Biden campaign. Yes, Hillary Clinton did out fundraise Donald Trump, but also 2020, we are seeing unprecedented levels of fundraising numbers for Joe Biden. In fact, if you look at 2016, if you remember, one of Hillary Clinton's biggest fundraising hauls in a singular month was less than $100 million. Biden broke that with, the Democratic Party as a whole, over $400 million in 1 month, in the month of August. September, they raised over $350 million for the Biden campaign. So this election is like no other, unprecedented levels of money on both sides, but more so in favor of the Democrats. And honestly, Donald Trump is the incumbent, and he should be running ahead of his opposition candidate, which is typical of an incumbent, but never once throughout the entirety of the election has Trump led Biden. And that's also the thing. The reason why some of these swing states are now out of reach for Donald Trump is because these states should have been targets very early on, and he's only recently come to spend money in them, or he just has been completely neglecting them. So, while I do think that Donald Trump isn't going to lose any traditional Republican state, Texas is obviously not out of reach for Donald Trump. We're going to be talking about states that ultimately will block Donald Trump's pathway to 270 when he's up in just 17 days. So let's start off with one state. We'll go one state at a time and then progress. I will start with the state of New Mexico. I think this came as not too shocking to any of you guys. New Mexico is a state that traditionally is a swing state. The last time it went to a Republican was 2004, but it was moderately competitive in 2016. It was an 8-point margin of victory for Hillary Clinton, but she did win with a plurality. The Trump campaign has spent money in this state. It's very small in population, and it's very easy to get into this market and also very cheap. It's 5 electoral votes that the Democratic Party thought originally could be competitive this time around. Realistically, even the Biden campaign has acknowledged it. New Mexico is out of reach for Trump and almost safe for Joe Biden. In fact, on the average in the state of New Mexico, Biden is currently up by 13% statewide. New Mexico goes to the Democrats. The next state that I would say is out of reach for Donald Trump is Colorado. I think that this is a state where the Democratic Party traditionally has trouble, whether it's a midterm election or whether it's a House election. But what 2016 and 2018 proved to us was that despite the rest of the country going to the right, this state voted to the left. And we're looking at Colorado in specific and taking a look at the margin today. I mean, it's not just polling data. While Biden is surely up 13 points, in Colorado, realistically, I see no possible pathway for a Donald Trump victory. I mean, taking a look at the chance, he has a 5% chance of victory here. He didn't win here 4 years ago. And if you're looking at the data, nothing suggests that it's going to be competitive in Colorado. And, all in all, the Biden campaign should be very happy with where they stand, specifically in Colorado. It's 9 electoral votes. Normally, under Obama both times, under pretty much every other presidential candidate in modern history, this state has been competitive. The Democrats have the luxury of not having to spend too much money there. The only thing competitive is the Senate race. Colorado goes to the Democrats. The next state that I would say is out of reach is actually New Hampshire. While many people on Trump's side do say, watch out for New Hampshire, it could be a sleeper state. First of all, this is the state that he referred to as a drug-infested den. And when I made those comments back in 2017 talking about how these voters will not forget it, they haven't forgotten it. And yes, the American public may forget things, but this is a small state. This is 4 electoral votes. Even if Trump was to be in range, it wouldn't change the outcome of the election. But New Hampshire specifically, this is a battleground state that has been battleground for forever. I mean, the Senate races have been competitive here. The Democratic Party, this time around, faces no real opposition on the GOP. And this is a Senate race, honestly. When I made a video talking about New Hampshire in specific, not just New Hampshire, a number of other states where the GOP failed to field a strong candidate. They did not nominate someone, or really anyone, that could have been a firm opposition to Jeanne Shaheen or Mark Warner, or wherever you're looking across this country in some of these states against Tina Smith. All of these candidates, these Democratic incumbents, are soaring to re-election. We're talking double-digit victories, where on the presidential level, it still may be a victory for Joe Biden, but nowhere near as far to the left. And the reason for that was the state's GOP failure to nominate someone that, in a normal year, this race would be probably one of the most closely watched. The Democratic Party has the luxury of not having to worry about any of their seats except for Alabama and Michigan. The Republican Party has 16 Senate seats that are competitive. 16. 1-6. The Democrats have 2. So, New Hampshire, really poor playing on the Republican Party side. I really think New Hampshire is out of reach for Donald Trump at this point. New Hampshire has gone to Biden. The next state that I would consider to be out of reach for Donald Trump is Virginia. Now, this is a state where the GOP, even in the best scenario on the 538 forecast, which is a very extreme one out of many situations, Trump still doesn't carry Virginia. And I think that's a perfect testament to the state's leftward nature following the 2016 elections. I mean, yes, Tim Kaine was the vice presidential nominee, but realistically, that didn't have as much of an impact as you might think. That rarely ever changes the outcome of a particular state, and data has shown in the past that it really doesn't matter. And Hillary Clinton likely would have won Virginia regardless. Northern Virginia dictates where the rest of the state goes. We've all seen it. The D.C. suburbs, it defies the expectations of a traditional Republican voter. Yes, these are white, these are rich voters, traditionally a very Republican group. In Virginia, the most Democratic group. Fairfax County voted for Bush in 2004. Now, this time around, Donald Trump is probably going to lose it 30-40%. And that's just a great indicator of where the rest of the state is, because Virginia, for whatever reason, has become what used to be a Republican stronghold. Even Bill Clinton couldn't win it. Has now become a probably likely, sometimes safe Democratic state. On the Senate level, it's safe. The House level, the GOP is not picking up any seats there. They might lose one because they nominated someone against, an incumbent just because they officiated a gay wedding. There are a number of problems with the Virginia GOP, and they have faded into irrelevancy so quickly. After the 2017 legislative turnaround, after the 2017 governor election as well, 2019, the Democrats flipped to both chambers. All in all, the Virginia GOP went from probably being one of the stronger GOPs in the country, always having great candidates to run, to having no one. And now this time, we see someone who doesn't even have a candidate profile on Ballotpedia. That's how relatively unknown these candidates are in Virginia. So Virginia, I think, is safe for Biden, not in terms of margin, but completely out of reach for Donald Trump. I don't care how much money he spends in D.C., he's not winning Virginia. Virginia, Colorado, New Mexico, and New Hampshire, all for Biden. And now the next state actually isn't too difficult for me to call. I just think that taking a look at Maine, this is a state where Hillary Clinton came up very short. I mean, she still won it, but based off her expected margin of victory versus the actual margin, she probably could have done much better. Barack Obama won this state by double digits. Hillary won it by 3. And this is a state where we see a competitive Senate race on top of 2, or they should be 2 competitive House races. We all know they're not now. But the presidential race is no longer competitive. And, when we're looking at Hillary Clinton as a candidate, she had something that these voters hated. They really liked something in Donald Trump as well. And when Maine's 2nd District solidly swung in favor of the GOP, that was a pretty strong sign against the Democratic establishment. Now, Barack Obama did well here. He won Maine's 2nd District in 2008 and 2012. In fact, never in Maine history had the 2nd District voted differently than the rest of the state until 2016. And 2016, Donald Trump swung a number of states to the right. We're talking, double-digit swings in a number of these key battleground states, or even former battleground states, Indiana, Missouri. But looking at Maine specifically, I don't see a pathway for Donald Trump this time around. The GOP has just become very unpopular in this state. Donald Trump himself has become very unpopular. And while Hillary Clinton may have been hated up there, Joe Biden is not. So Biden's second district, Biden will win Maine. He will win New Hampshire. He will win Virginia. He will win Colorado and New Mexico. And I know some of you guys who, may be supporting Donald Trump may get angry at me for this one, but I do think that Nevada is out of reach for Donald Trump. This is a state where, the Republican Party has come up short multiple times, and 2018 should have been a year where the Republican Party should have won the governor's mansion. There was no real indicator that the Democrat was going to win there. Now, the Senate race was absolutely competitive. 2016 had a competitive Senate race, but Hillary Clinton's victory in the state likely landed the Democrats over the finish line. But 2018, yes, it was a Democratic wave year, but also, this state was showing the Republican ahead. And Nevada, interestingly enough, has always overestimated Republican support. Whether it was 2008, whether it was 2012, whether it was 2014, whether it was 2016, whether it was 2018, and if this state has a very consistent track record of underestimating Democratic support and Biden still leading by 6%, realistically, I'd say that this state is out of reach. Now, I'm not going to say that Minnesota or any of the Rust Belt states are out of reach for Donald Trump. These are states that we could see some surprises in. I don't expect too many surprises from any Clinton states from 2016, except for maybe Minnesota. Because the reason why we could see a surprise in Minnesota is because this state did have a shaky history of being polled back in 2016, but on top of that, this region generally moves altogether. So for right now, yes, Joe Biden is dominating across the Rust Belt. But in the final 2 weeks of the campaign, Hillary Clinton went from Biden-esque numbers down to losing in 3 out of the 4 states. Minnesota actually has the longest track record of voting for a Democratic candidate, which started back, I believe, in 1976, because Ronald Reagan was not able to win the state of Minnesota. So since 1976, Minnesota has been a Democratic state. I think we're coming up on half a century. And, this state almost went to Donald Trump. It was a 1.5% margin for Hillary Clinton. It was one of the closer Democratic states, but I am holding out on characterizing these states as out of reach. I really don't want to characterize Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now, in a week from now, and Biden maintains this lead, I will say Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania probably are out of reach for Donald Trump now, but we're almost hitting this pivotal 2-week mark that turned around the 2016 election in its entirety. All of the 2 years building up to Hillary Clinton's dominating lead crumbled in 14 days. And Joe Biden's campaign should be really hopeful that this doesn't happen, but on top of that, they should also be happy that their lead is much higher than Hillary Clinton's, but I'm not counting out Trump in these battleground states yet. Where I am counting him out, you can quote me on this, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, New Hampshire, and Maine, and Virginia. And I could very well be wrong, but I probably won't be, given that Donald Trump has spent, he has spent money in some of these states, but Biden has severely outspent him, and there's no data indicating that this race will narrow up, whether it's the polls, whether it's the forecast, whether it's the pundit ratings, whether it's the fundraising numbers, whatever you're looking at. The Democrats have the clear advantage in these battleground states, and Donald Trump would honestly be foolish to spend any more money in New Mexico or any new money in the D.C. suburbs in the hopes of possibly winning Virginia. Because the only way I could feasibly see the Trump campaign winning re-election, that 1 in 10 chance, is only through defense. He has a maybe 1, 2, 3% chance at winning any Clinton states or Clinton districts from 2016. So I honestly think that the only way Trump could win is through defense. But realistically, look at the swing states. 191, 125 for Trump, 222 for Biden. Biden has a very clear advantage. And honestly, he probably will maintain this. But we are 17 days away. Anything can happen. Crazier things have happened this year, as we all know. So we are waiting until the final stretch of the campaign season, that 2-week, very crucial mark where, at that point, if Biden is maintaining these leads and it's 72 hours from now when I start that close watch in the swing states, well then yes, maybe the Rust Belt will be completely out of reach for Trump. But right now, It's just Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Virginia, New Hampshire, and Maine. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. I apologize for this video coming out pretty late. I took a nap, so I uploaded it. It should be uploaded around 10:30, 10:40. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.